Welcome to the Agape Podcast. I'm Beck, a passionate, sold-out lover of Jesus who accidentally started a Christian singles ministry, and now I want to help as many people as possible to find their husband or wife while being super healthy and full of hope. So get ready for some real, raw talk about all things singleness and dating. Hello, and welcome to today's podcast. I am Beck Chamberlain, and I am so excited to talk to you today about attention without intention. Because I hear a lot of people talking about this, and I've listened to some things, I've seen some things, and I want to talk to you guys today about just how people can have a lot of attention, they can give you a lot of attention, or they can take a lot of your attention, but not actually have any intention towards you romantically whatsoever. And so I think a lot of people get really confused when this happens, and I want to talk to how this can happen, but also some ways to guard your heart, guard your mind, and to actually really protect yourself during this process. So I'll see a lot of people kind of get carried away when somebody shows attention to them. So they think, oh, this really cute guy, he's into me, he's talking to me all the time, he is hanging out with me, we've got this cute little texting thing going, and then come to find, a couple months later, they think they're going towards a relationship, and the guy turns around and says, hey, I'm sorry, I just thought you were a really great friend. I'm just really enjoying getting to hang out with you. Thank you so much. And so that person ends up completely crushed. Or I've seen it where girls, they have no intention of allowing a man to pursue them, but they love it when he's kind of doting on them. They love the attention of him doing things for them. They'll let him buy them, a coffee when they go out with a group or anything like that. But she has no intention of doing anything further, but hasn't actually said anything to show him where her heart and where her desire is at. And so we find in this dating world, it's really easy to have people give you attention or take your attention without actually having any intention of pursuing you romantically. And so they might not just be giving you attention, but they might also be wanting to take your attention. So you're paying attention to them, and they're actually not being brave with their communication and letting you know that they're not interested. So they continue to allow you to give them that attention. And really, the onus is on them to share their heart, but you can also communicate where you're at and ask, hey, are we on the same page? Because I find a lot of people, they think it's all this miscommunication, it's all this reading into things. And I know as women, we do this really well. We read into every little cute hello and every little look over, and you're like, oh, he's so into me, and then it doesn't actually eventuate. And I think a lot more people give attention without intention because they're just actually friendly. That's one reason. They're just really friendly people. I have a friend, and he's quite charismatic and outgoing, and he's super friendly, and I see a lot of women getting the wrong idea, because they think, oh, he must like me. And unfortunately, these kinds of people, women or men, can get the kind of label of being a player, but they're actually having no intention. They're not doing anything that isn't, they're not being dishonoring. They're not doing anything that is wrong or bad. They're being themselves and they're being friendly, but people are reading into that. And I think that's a really big key. We can actually read intentions into something that has not been the case. It's not actually what's going on. And then our hearts and minds get away from us and we think, oh, they're really interested in us. So it can come in the form of people being friendly, or it can come in the form of people intentionally misleading. And this is the one that I hope that no kingdom people are doing this, intentionally misleading somebody for their own benefit. But it does happen. So they love getting their emotional needs met. Hey, I love having you around. I love having somebody to talk to. Oh, it feels so good. I have no intention towards you, but I love keeping you on the hook because it makes me feel better about myself. I feel more desirable as well. somebody actually wants to be with me. Now, I don't want to be with them, but it's awesome that they want to be with me, and I'll just keep them around so I feel better. Or I'll date other people, and then when that doesn't go super well, at least I have somebody that like is still interested in me, and I'm still loved and lovable. And that's the more, I would say that's the more dishonoring way of giving attention. And so as receivers of that attention, we actually get to be really powerful. So if somebody's paying attention to you, I think the biggest thing is to not make up stories in your head. So unless they've actually said a clear, hey, I'm interested in getting to know you for the purposes of dating, I wouldn't even go there. I wouldn't even start to think, oh, this is what they're wanting. This is where it's going. Really keeping your thought life under wraps and protected, I think, is really, really vital in this dating season, because I've seen so many people get so carried away with their heart. They're so sure that this relationship is going one way, and then it completely goes the other way, and they're blindsided and they feel super hurt. But what they don't realize is, oh, if I had have actually just stepped back and kept things in reality, okay, have they made any promises to me? No. Have they pursued me in any way that's any different to anybody else? Well, not really. Or I thought that they did, but now I see they're just as friendly with everybody else. But I wanted them to like me, so I kind of read into this and thought it was just me. Keeping things in reality will really guide your heart in this area. Because yes, not everybody who gives you attention wants to date you. Not everybody who gives you attention wants to pursue you or wants to be pursued by you. And so I think this is really important, because we can let ourselves really get run away with the emotions and the feelings of, oh, this feels really good. And actually, if we're not asking the right questions in these times, it can set us up for a lot of heartbreak later on when we realize, oh, this wasn't what they were doing at all. So I think if you get nothing else out of this podcast, remember that attention doesn't equal intention. And that's a really big key. And it's something that I fell for a lot when I was single, especially when in my early 20s. Any guy that kind of looked at me, I'd be like, oh my gosh, is he the one? And I'd be kind of praying about it. And that was immaturity as well on my part. But, any sort of, anything that they kind of threw my way, they're like, oh, they enter a room, they come and speak to me first. So I'm like reading into it. Oh, well, he spoke to me before anybody else. Like, he must really like me. Or, hey, he's messaging me throughout the day. And, you didn't do that unless you are thinking about someone. And then eventually when it comes out, they're just like, yeah, you're a really good friend. Thanks. Or I really enjoy getting to know you. You're awesome. But like, there's absolutely nothing there. And I'm crushed because I really, really, really thought that something different was going on. And so I just have a few tips. If this has been you, if you've had situations like this happen to you, first I want to tell you, you are not alone. I'm pretty sure everybody has had this happen to them. It's really easy to read into things when people aren't clear. And unfortunately, we don't live in a super blunt, honest, open society where people just say, hey, I'm pursuing you, or hey, I don't want to pursue you. So you kind of do have to sort of read into it and think, okay, is this something? Is this not? I want to be open, but, I don't want to just shut it down in case he actually is into me. But that actually leaves us very open. And so my first tip would be to guard your heart. If there's been no explicit communication of somebody's intention towards you, then guard your heart. Keep it in reality and go, okay, cool, we're hanging out, we're friends. We are getting along, and that's where we're at. We're just friends until he or she says otherwise or leads me to believe otherwise. This is where we're at. Or until I say something and they clarify, and we're going to get to that point. So guard your heart. Guard your fantasies. Make sure that your fantasy life, I would say, really, I try not to live in fantasy at all. It just causes so much detriment. I've spoken about this before on the podcast. When something doesn't happen and it doesn't come to fruition, it's like you have to grieve twice, because you grieve the reality of something not happening in real life, and then you grieve the future that you thought you had with them, and the future that you imagined. Oh, we're going to live here. Our kids are going to look like this. We'll probably get married here on this date. All of that kind of stuff. And so Guarding your heart looks like staying present and staying in reality and staying in the truth of what your relationship is to that person. So that was number 2, staying present. And then 3, communicating bravely. So if you're in one of these situations where it's just around and around and, they're messaging you, and I've coached some girls and I know that this is the thing that guys do, and I know it's something that girls do as well. Have brave communication. It's okay to ask them to clarify what's going on. Asking clarifying questions. Asking, hey, I see you reaching out to me. I see you messaging me throughout the day. I'm just interested. Are you wanting to pursue me? Or I see you messaging at me throughout the day. Are you open to me pursuing you in a more romantic way? Asking clarifying questions so you actually know where their heart is at. You don't have to assume. You don't have to make up ideas. You don't have to fantasize. You can actually figure it out. Because sometimes people are paying attention to you because they do want to be with you. But they need to communicate that. And if they're not communicating that, you still need to be guarding your heart until they do. Because at this point, it could go either way. And again, they could have intention, they could not have intention. But until they explicitly bring that to the light, it's up to you to manage your emotions, manage your heart, and protect yourself. And so, brave communication, asking those questions. It doesn't have to be a big, scary thing. And if you're scared of losing that person, I would also just take that to Holy Spirit and ask Him to really reveal to you, why am I scared of having this conversation and that it might end in that person no longer being in my life or not having such a close relationship with them? Because ideally, if they say that they don't want to be with you, then it's actually freeing you from wasting a lot of your time, energy, resources, mental capacity, everything that you don't want to be wasting time on. You want to be with people or be with someone that actually wants to be with you. So I would really go to the Lord and ask Him, why am I scared of losing this? What am I getting from this attention, from their attention? What am I getting that's filling my tank up that I'm afraid to have brave communication and bring real feelings into the light, bring the reality of the situation and what's going on in their heart into the light? Lord, what am I getting? What needs am I getting met? And why am I enjoying it so much that I'm afraid to let it go? I think that's a really, really deep question that only the Holy Spirit can answer, but I believe that He's going to bring a lot of revelation to people listening. And then I think number 4 is having really good boundaries with this person. So if they're not having intention towards you and you've communicated with them and they say, actually, I just want to be friends, awesome, then you need to put some boundaries in place, because messaging you all day, wanting to hang out one-on-one, anything like that is actually not good for your heart. And it's potentially holding you up from meeting the person that God actually does have for you. And so having some really clear boundaries. Hey, we're not going to hang out one-on-one. I'm sorry, but if you're not actually pursuing me, you don't get to have this kind of intimate time with me. If you're not actually interested in getting to know me for the purposes of being with me, then this is a boundary that I'm putting in place. Hey, another boundary, we're not going to be texting it all the time. Most people don't just text their friends every single day. And I'm not talking about best friends. I'm just talking about acquaintances, friends, people who are around. They're not in constant communication with just their friends. So actually, that's what we're going to do. We're not going to be in constant communication. But, thank you so much. And really pray about whatever you feel you need to put in place to protect your heart. Again, they're not in charge of your heart. You're in charge of your own heart. And so you get to say what you can handle, what is okay, what is appropriate, and what is not. And what you feel the Holy Spirit is leading you to put up in the way of boundaries. Because again, I find these really slippery slopes where people don't really have boundaries, but the person's communicated that they don't want to be with them, but they continue to have that same cycle of, okay, well, now you're paying attention to me and now I like you again, and now the person who's receiving the attention wants to be around them more, and they get more and more sucked in again, and then the person who already communicated, hey, I'm not interested in you, gets confused because, I'm talking, this is hard when I'm talking, say it's a guy, I've got to use examples because now I'm getting confused within my example. So say a guy said, hey, I'm not interested in you, I was giving you attention, yes, but I just thought you were a really good friend, and the girl's like, oh, okay. But then if she doesn't put good boundaries up and doesn't actually hold to her boundaries, it'll become a cycle of hanging out with him again, being one-on-one, texting him again, and then now she's like, oh, maybe he likes me. Like he's spending time with me, he's doing all this stuff. And then again, she might bring it up, hey, you said you didn't like me, but you've been spending time with me. Have things changed? I'm interested in you. And he's thinking, hey, I communicated really clearly I was not interested. So not really sure what's going on, but I'm still in the same place. And I've seen this play out time and time again. And so they get even more crushed. And then they, again, don't put boundaries up. And then the girl starts pursuing him again because she really wants to change his mind. And this is where we get into manipulation. People trying to change the other person's mind by manipulating, being different. I find a lot of women manipulate by trying to be really helpful. And sometimes they don't even realize it's manipulation, but they're actually doing things in order to get a desired outcome, which is affection returned. So they're actually doing all these things because they want the person to be have affection for them. And so when that doesn't happen, they feel like I've been used, I did so much for you. And the guys are there like, whoa, I've told you from the beginning that I wasn't going to date you. I thought you were just being kind and like a really good sister in Christ. But these women actually didn't realize, and I've done this personally myself, manipulated situations. If you watch like Pride and Prejudice and all of those sort of things where they go, oh, we're going to drop our hanky and the soldier will come and pick it up. And I mean, that's kind of a more innocent way of looking at it. But they kind of manipulate encounters and meetings and all of that kind of stuff. I find Christian women usually manipulate through acts of service. This is the most common one that I've seen personally, doing lots of stuff for a guy and then getting hurt when he doesn't return their affections, and then they feel used afterwards. And so having good boundaries really does just stop this cycle. It guards your heart, and it means you're not seeing this as a competition. Okay, I've got to win them over. I've got to change their mind. Actually taking, if they say they're not interested, okay, I'm taking that and I'm going to respect that. And I'm going to always act as if that's true. So I'm going to remind myself, hey, he's not interested in me. If he starts messaging me again, I'm putting my boundaries in place. I'm sorry. I know that you're not interested. I need to guard my heart. We can't be talking like this because also I want to go and meet somebody who is going to be interested in me. And then the great thing is if they're actually giving you attention and they do have intention, having that brave communication really exposes that. And then you can start to go, okay, what does this look like to work towards a dating relationship? Or what does dating look like? And it just brings things to light. Honestly, the more open and honest you can be, the braver you can be in your communication, the more things will be seen and known. You won't be left wondering. There's not this anxiety of, I don't know how this is going to go. Is this going to be good? Is this going to be bad? I'm a little bit scared. Everything just comes to the light, and then you have adequate information to make an informed decision. You have enough information to actually decide what you want to do because you're only in control of yourself. And so, yes, to recap, a lot of people will give you attention and they will have no intention of being with you. And some will give you attention and they do want to be with you. But until you know and until you're 100% clear on which one of those two it is, guard your heart, stay present, have brave communication, practice good boundaries, if it turns out that it isn't the case. And really work on looking after your heart and knowing what you need. I just want to encourage you guys today. From one girl who used to think everybody that gave her any attention was interested, I want to help you out and guard you from further heartache and going through a lot of the experiences that I went through to get to this point. Guys, I hope you have an incredible day. Bless you. I just believe that God is bringing kingdom marriages together in this season. I had an incredible morning with the Lord this morning, and I just felt his presence and his pleasure over you. There is such a pleasure of God for incredible laid down lovers of Jesus who are not only pursuing healthy, godly marriage, but are pursuing healthiness and healing and wholeness in their singleness as well. And so I just want to commend you guys for listening to this podcast and really allowing God to do a work in you while you're single. It is only going to bless your future marriage. Have an awesome day.